I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that.
Political debates have evolved into a place where logic and reason frequently collide with rigid ideologies. Recently, Bill Maher stood in the spotlight challenging Whoopi Goldberg's points with his signature sharp humor and straightforwardness. This wasn't simply another celebrity clash. It served as a stark reminder for those holding on to narratives that unravel when examined closely. Interview.
Part of our sorry racial history in this country is that the point of view from a black person is often going to be very different and sometimes shocking.
Maher has earned his reputation by questioning both ends of the political spectrum.
Maher has earned his reputation by questioning both ends of the political spectrum, but his recent exchange with Whoopi Goldberg took things to another level as Whoopi attempted to defend her position with the familiar progressive rhetoric commonly heard on The View. Maher struck back with hard facts, pointing out contradictions that left her on the defensive. The debate underscored just how out of touch elite liberal viewpoints have grown with the real-life issues facing ordinary Americans. Interview.
But you basically go after Trump and Biden, both of them. And a lot of people are not happy with you about that. I'm
not equally.
Well, not equally, because you know that Trump is more dangerous.
Of course. I mean, I don't think anybody was more out front on that danger than I was.
Before jumping into the debate itself, it's important to understand the key figures involved. Whoopi Goldberg, a firm supporter of liberal policies, has often brushed off criticism of the left as nothing more than right-wing propaganda. On the other hand, Maher isn't a conservative, he's a traditional liberal who rejects rigid ideological labels. This contrast laid the groundwork for a truly engaging showdown. Interview.
I was talking about how he was never going to give up power long ago when everybody was laughing at me and said, you smoke too much pot. And I said, I smoke just the right amount of pot. Because plainly, I was using the term slow-moving coup before he was elected the first time.
That's right.
I said, this guy is never going to concede power. It's impossible to imagine him going, I lost.
Confrontation began when Whoopi dismissed concerns about crime, the economy, and the challenges faced by working-class Americans. Maher quickly countered, highlighting that issues like inflation and personal safety impact real people far more than symbolic activism. Instead of directly engaging with his points, Whoopi deflected with a vague response that avoided the crux of the issue. Rather than addressing the facts presented, she fell back on outdated talking points about economic policies that seemed increasingly disconnected from the realities people face. Interview. Maher.
About saying anything against Biden, because I feel, not that I have so much power, and you have some more than I do, obviously, but
I don't know about that.
Are you afraid that you might, influence people who are on the fence?
I think you lose all credibility.
Maher never want to let a weak argument pass, highlighted a critical contradiction in Whoopi's position. He pointed out that progressive elites, particularly white liberals, often claim to champion marginalized communities while ignoring what those communities truly care about. Polls consistently show that Black and Hispanic voters are more focused on issues like economic stability and crime than on ideological debates, playing out on social media. Whoopi's unwillingness to recognize this disconnect only served to underline the weaknesses in her argument. Interview.
I mean, my bond with my audience has always been I don't pull a punch.
Yeah.
My bond with my audience is you're not going to like everything I say, but I'm saying what I really think is true.
Right.
That's. And look, Biden just presents as old. It's not really fair.
No.
Because he's almost the same age. Trump is almost the same age as him.
I know.
Steered the conversation toward political hypocrisy. He brought up the controversies surrounding Hunter Biden, pointing out how Democrats who preach accountability go silent when one of their own is at the center of a scandal. Whoopi, clearly uncomfortable, attempted to downplay Biden's actions, claiming they were being blown out of proportion, but Maher wasn't about to let her off the hook so easily. Interview.
Trump doesn't present that way. You look at somebody right away, you can kind of just sum them up. I mean, we are not young, but we don't present as old.
Yeah.
Biden does. I saw him yesterday making that speech.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, he's cadaver-like.
But his brain is good. He's still great.
Well, here's what I said. Like when I came back after the strike in September, I said, he should get out.
Ma reminded the audience of President Biden's own words, asserting that no one is owed the law just before granting a pardon to his own son. This stark double standard, Ma argued, is precisely why so many Americans are disillusioned with the political system. If the rules only apply when it's convenient, they're no longer rules at all. Whoopi's defense faltered, unable to stand up to the force of Maher's logic. Interview.
I mean, a conservative once said to me, what you guys in the liberal side of it don't get about Donald Trump is we don't like him either.
Yeah.
It's just that in this country, it's binary. I mean, gender may not be binary, but politics is. You only get two choices. And the stuff that they are afraid of, they see Donald Trump as a bulwark against.
As the conversation grew more intense, Maher highlighted the media's role in shaping public perception. He called out mainstream outlets for suppressing the Hunter Biden story ahead of the election, accusing them of prioritizing narrative control over journalistic integrity instead of addressing the evidence. Maher presented. Whoopi dismissed his argument as just another right-wing conspiracy theory. Interview.
They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
Because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election. Armed with facts, Ma reminded Whoopi that even left-leaning journalists had admitted the Hunter Biden story was deliberately suppressed for political reasons. He argued that this at its core is the real danger of woke ideology. It's not about truth or justice, but about controlling the narrative. Once again, Whoopi had no solid rebuttal, instead choosing to change the subject. Interview.
Obama had her over to the White House, like in 2013, to hint, hey, spend more time with the grandkids. That would not be a good idea, Ruth. And she didn't take the hint, and she was not in good health, and she stayed too long, and she ruined her legacy and got the Supreme Court now to be a pretty right-wing organization. Said Biden shouldn't do that, but ego. He's Dracula. He has crossed oceans of time to be here, and he's not going to give it up now.
The conversation then took a broader turn as Maher criticized the progressive movement for fostering an environment where questioning their beliefs is seen as an act of hostility. He pointed out that working-class Americans, the very people progressives claim to represent, are not buying into the extreme narratives pushed by media elites. Instead of acknowledging this reality, Whoopi continued to dismiss valid concerns as nothing more than right-wing rhetoric, then shifted focus to the changing political landscape, explaining how the Democratic Party's sharp leftward shift has alienated key voter demographics, including Black and Hispanic Americans. Polls show that these communities tend to be more patriotic, more supportive of law enforcement, and less tolerant of unchecked illegal immigration than white progressives, yet Democrats persist in catering to elite activists instead of listening to the real concerns of these communities. Interview.
And that stuff is a lot closer to the home. It's like my kid is coming home from school and they're not allowed to tell me if they're transitioning. The school is going to take the side of the kid over the parent. Stuff like that. There is a lot of crazy stuff on the left. This book, there's stuff that each side is going to like and probably stuff they're not going to like so much in there.
Throughout the debate, Whoopi Goldberg found herself struggling to defend her positions when confronted with Maher's fact-based arguments. Instead of addressing the points directly, she repeatedly resorted to vague talking points, emotional appeals, and outright deflection. This is a common issue for many figures within the woke movement whose narratives often hinge more on ideological commitment than on objective reality. A key moment came when Ma pressed Whoopi on the genuine concerns of Black and Hispanic Americans, rather than acknowledging that these communities prioritize economic stability and public safety over progressive activism. Whoopi tried to shift the conversation to unrelated topics. This exposed a core weakness in woke politics: the inability to confront inconvenient truths when ideological commitments are challenged. Figures like Whoopi often rely on changing the subject instead of engaging with the actual argument. Interview.
You used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bashed. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
With her arguments effectively dismantled, Whoopi resorted to playing the victim. She accused Maher of misrepresenting her views and making her look bad. However, Maher wasn't distorting anything. He was simply holding up a mirror, and Whoopi didn't like what she saw. When confronted with hard facts, she had no legitimate response. Interview.
I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree with me?
Maher's takedown was particularly powerful because it didn't come from a conservative. As a lifelong liberal, possesses the credibility to challenge the excesses of the progressive movement. His refusal to conform to ideological purity tests has made him an outsider in some circles, but it has also earned him the respect of those who value critical thinking and honest debate. Interview.
That's the answer to the Donald Trump situation, is what's going to get him elected is this woke stuff that a lot of people in this country just don't go for.
Well, one thing that I break with is that you can disagree on candidates, but when one talks about literally upending the entire democracy, that's my heart out. There's not an equal comparison here.
Maher's takedown was particularly powerful because it didn't come from a conservative. As a lifelong liberal, possesses the credibility to challenge the excesses of the progressive movement. His refusal to conform to ideological purity tests has made him an outsider in some circles, but it has also earned him the respect of those who value critical thinking and honest debate.
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want, because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left, but don't tell me the left
Or maybe the super far right.
This debate with Whoopi Goldberg underscores a broader divide within liberalism. Maher represents an older generation of liberals who value free speech, rational debate, and a focus on practical issues. In contrast, the woke movement has increasingly emphasized ideological purity, cancel culture, and social activism over real problem solving. This shift has left many traditional liberals feeling alienated from the movement they once supported. Maher's critique highlights how the Democratic Party has veered so far left that it often fails to address the concerns of everyday Americans. Issues like inflation, crime, and education matter more to the average voter than debates about gender pronouns or microaggressions. Yet woke activists continue to dominate public discourse, pushing an agenda that many liberals find disconnected from the realities people face. Maher's willingness to call out these contradictions makes him one of the few mainstream voices unafraid to challenge the excesses of progressive ideology. Interview.
We talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Bill Maher's exchange with Whoopi Goldberg raises a crucial question about the future of political commentary in the United States as mainstream media becomes more ideologically driven. Figures like MH stand out for refusing to conform to partisan expectations. His willingness to critique both sides has earned him respect from conservatives and moderates, while frustrating many progressives who expect unwavering loyalty to their cause. Interview.
Women have this is a show watched by a lot of women. Women have no rights in this place.
This debate also signals a shift in how audiences are consuming political content. Many Americans are moving away from traditional news sources and celebrity-driven talk shows, turning instead to independent commentators who offer more balanced perspectives. The success of figures like Maher, Joe Rogan, and others highlights a growing demand for honest, unfiltered discussions rather than scripted ideological narratives. If mainstream networks like The View fail to adapt, they risk losing relevance in an increasing skeptical and independent-minded media landscape. What happens next if The View and similar platforms continue to double down on their disconnected narratives? They risk alienating even more viewers. Americans are no longer interested in being lectured by out-of-touch celebrities. They want genuine conversations about real issues. Maher has proven he's willing to provide that, even if it makes him unpopular with ideological purists. Interview.
Okay. That was a joke. But,
Too dark. Too dark.
Well, maybe it is, but it's true. I mean, if I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest.
Could this debate be a turning point if people continue rejecting performative outrage and ideological purity? The woke establishment may find itself losing ground faster than expected if they refuse to listen. Maher's takedown of Whoopi Goldberg could very well be just the beginning of a much larger reckoning.